All right, so what we're gonna do, last video we got pfSense set up, we got Proxmox set up. So now I want to deploy a virtual machine on or on Proxmox, but I don't want to go in there and have to like manually set it up. Like we can do that, but I would much rather just have like a Terraform module with my virtual machines or a project, and then so we're gonna do that. We're gonna get it to work. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to set up Packer. And the reason we're going to do that is we can use it to provision a virtual machine and create a template in Proxmox. And then with Terraform, we'll be able to use that to automate our deployments, and we can just create new nodes with. And later we'll do something really cool with it. But right now, let's go over the template. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over the file. So I just made a Packer folder, and I haven't figured out how to do this through CI/CD yet. So you're just going to have to manually do this, but you shouldn't have to do this all the time. So you're going to create this containers server folder right here, and then you're going to create a containers-server.packer.hcl. And then I'm going to walk you through this file. I'm going to make this available to you. But first, you're just going to create these three variables. These are what we're going to use to log into Proxmox. And then we're just going to kind of configure a resource. It looks very similar to Terraform. So we're going to use those to connect to Proxmox. We're going to connect to those variables. And since we're doing it just over the IP address, we're going to make sure it's insecure is okay. And then Proxmox, that's the name of your Proxmox node. And then the ID that you want to give this template. So I'm going to give this one 400. And then we're going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it container server. And then it's just an Ubuntu Jammy image pre-configured with Docker. This is an ISO file that I downloaded. You just have to add this to your Proxmox. And then just make sure you use the same ISO name. And make sure I'm doing the local storage pool. This is the SCSI controller to use. I'm just going to give them 100 gigabyte disk size. This is the format I found that works. This is going to do it my local LVM. Like this should all work if you're just using the default settings and haven't added any drives. I'm going to give it 4 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, and then add it to that virtual bridge one that we made last video. And then we're going to do Cloud Init, and then we're going to set up a username and password and add our SSH key. So how we're going to do that is this is going to have a boot command, and I'll display this, how it works. But it's going to go to Proxmox, boot up the machine. It's going to fire off that command, and then it's going to do this like network boot kind of thing. So what we need to do is just get the IP address of our machine. So ifconfig, see what mine is. Oh, 155, perfect. So that's what mine is. And then just go ahead and leave that the same. And then you can just do some temporary, this is just some easy username and password that I use when I do something generic. And you can also do your SSH private key. So define that. You're just going to cat out this file, see if it exists on your machine. If not, it's just a different file name. And then now we're going to do some stuff on it. So this is going to just go ahead and initialize it. And then it should also do an update on it. And then this one is going to go into this file directory, and it's going to get these kind of boot file, like boot configuration out of here. And then it's going to go here. It's going to install some packages, do an update. It's going to install Docker and just kind of create a group for it. So that way Docker will be installed. And then something else we can do is we can say sudo usermod-ag, or actually, my bad, we're going to say sudo apt-get install docker compose. So that's something we can do real quick. We'll add that to it. And then this last one we're going to set up, you need to add this HTTP file. So this is going to be for Cloud Init. And then you do have to add this file, just leave it blank. And then add this user data. And then you're going to be able to copy and paste this template. Basically, you can just kind of do some SSH settings, They're going to install the guest agent, allow sudo. You can add your public key. So if you want to get that, you just cat.ssh and then get the .public one. Boom. And then you would just add that key right there, and then you'll be able to log in without a password. And then I believe we are good to go. I quickly went through that. So now the last thing we need to do is just create this credentials file. And then so what you need to do is create the token and password. And so I'll show you how to do that. Just give me 1 second. All right, so to get that token, we're gonna click on Data Center, go to API tokens, and then you're gonna add one, uncheck privilege separation, and go ahead and call it Packer. You can just call it a CI or just Packer, whatever you want, and then add that. And then this is gonna be your username. So we're gonna add that to our repo, just right here. And then now we gotta add our password. Boom. And you can also set these as environment variables, just prefix them with that, and then it'll work. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to run these commands. So we have to create this credentials.packer file with these values, and that's what our secrets are gonna get. So if you look in here, our secrets are gonna come from that file. So we gotta get these. So now I made these commands. So what we're gonna do is validate this first. So let's copy that. I'm gonna clear this. And then so let's go into that Packer folder. We should have those credentials. So let's validate it. Oh, see, I'm missing a comma. So let's go back there. Boom. So let's run that again. Ooh, the configuration is valid here. Let me just run that. Configuration is valid. So now we can build it. Let's see. I already have one at this ID, so I'm going to do another one. So let's go ahead and launch 4.0. Let's just do 4.10. I'm going to delete it, but let's run this. All right, so now we have our template right here. So we're gonna go ahead and set up our Terraform and then go ahead and use this template that we made. All right, so I'm gonna use GitLab. A big reason I use GitLab is I think they have an incredible platform to do everything that you need to do in terms of CI/CD and to automate your deployments. Like they have a backend you can use. Their GitLab pipelines are really nice and they're really easy to configure and deploy runners. I'm just a really big fan of GitLab and how they do everything. So I'm going to show you what I know how to do with GitLab and just the way I set things up. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this project set up. As you can see, here's my file. This is what we're going to get it to look like real quick. We're just going to get a nice main file going and getting this project initialized. So now what we need to do is we need to set up the provider so we can use the provider to create machines on Proxmox. So let's create a new file called provider.tf. And then I'm going to paste this Proxmox provider in. And so this is just the configuration for it. We just need to create these variables, which we're going to do real quick. And then let's create them right here. So variable, I'm just going to copy this. Oops. Copy, paste, paste. All right, and I can say, awesome. little Terraform format there. So now I have these variables in. So now these are going to be sensitive information. So I don't really want to set these, but you know, I could do this one. Like I could say, you know, this variable, I could set this in my thing. All right, so we're going to create these variables. And then we need to set these ones as sensitive. So you don't want them to release these values. So we'll put that there. Okay, perfect. So now when we want to do that, we have these set. We're going to go ahead and set these in our pipeline. So I'm actually, I guess, yeah, let's copy them like this. Oops, not Firefox. Let's go to our repository here. We're going to go to settings, CI/CD, and then variables. And then we're going to add a variable. And then what we need to do is do tf_var_, and then paste in the variable. And then for this one, you're going to do the address, which is your 10.10.2 or 1.2 8006. And then you want to mask the variable. You don't need to expand it, just save it as a string. And then we're going to go ahead and add that. All right, so the Proxmox URL that we need to set right here, we're going to open this up because we need this API2/JSON. So this is the URL that we need. So just make sure this is the IP address that you set for your Proxmox, and then you're going to be good to go. So let's update that. And then now let's go into our Proxmox and we need to create a token. So what we're going to do is, I believe you go here. I think it's actually in data center API tokens, and now we're going to add one. Check privilege separation. And then for this one, for the token ID, let's just call it a Proxmox-TF. And then we'll give it the root privileges. Then we're going to add it. So here's going to be our token ID. So let's go create this. So our Proxmox API token ID. Let's add this variable. So tf_var. And then let's get this value. Paste that in there. Oh, make sure that's right. Yep, root at, it's good to go. Don't do the expand. We'll go ahead and mask and protect. Add that variable. Okay, and then let's add the next variable. Proxmox token secret. We're gonna go back here, tf_var, paste that in. And then let's get that secret from here. And you have to keep this open. If you delete this, you're gonna have to recreate a new token. You're only gonna be able to see that once. Awesome, so now we are good to go. So now we got all those set up. So technically, we should be able, when we run this with our runner that we're gonna get set up, we're gonna be able to use these values and authenticate with our Proxmox and log in. So we can go ahead and close that. And we have that set, and then don't worry, I'm gonna reset mine, so it doesn't really matter if you have my token or not. And okay, let's go ahead and set up a virtual machine. All right, so now we're gonna set up a VM. We're just gonna create a template for right now. So just create a file. You can call it VMs. I'm just gonna do VMs.tf. You can call it virtual machines, whatever you want. And then I'm gonna paste this in here. And then, so this is my VLAN. So I have my VLAN 4. It's called Gondor. So this is kind of like Gondor, you know, they're just kind of, everyone can get in there. So it's going to be, we're going to be able to set a Gondor username and password. So we're going to set this in our pipeline variables. And then this is just going to explain it real quick. We're going to give it a virtual machine ID of 401. We're going to name it Gondor. We're going to do it on our Proxmox node, which I'm going to show you real quick. This is our Proxmox node. It's called Proxmox. So if you named it something else, that's the name of your node. You know what? Let's do this in side-by-side view. Oh, perfect. Okay, so, and then now I'm just going to give it a description. This is going to be my Gondor container server. I'm just going to run a couple containers on it. We're going to do a cloud init. We're going to use the Gondor user and name and password. We're going to clone. We're going to create this machine image. So this is a lot to take in. So essentially we're going to describe the bare bones of a machine, but we need to create this image template, which we're going to do with Packer. I'll show you in a minute. I'm just going to give you my template and you can just run it. It's kind of a pain to set up. Digital Life has a really good video on it. I'm going to link his thing to it. I basically used that and just tried to make it work for me. His didn't work for me right away, but I'm going to try to give you mine, see if it'll work for you. We're going to have it start up on boot. This is going to start that QEMU guest agent. We're going to give it 4 cores, 1 socket. We're going to use CPU. We're just going to give it 4 gigs and allow it to balloon. This is going to be that network bridge that we made in the last video. We're going to put it on there with using the VirtIO driver. Give it a VLAN tag of 4. And then I'm going to give it an IP address of 10.10.4.10. And then this is going to be the gateway that it's going to use. And then I'm going to use Cloudflare as a name server for right now. I'll probably update this later, but I might be putting like my actual name server that I use for everything in here. So this might just go straight to Cloudflare, no problem. And then we are good to go. So this is going to be our little template that we're going to use. And let's go ahead. We need to get a runner set up. So let's do that. All right, so we're going to set this git ignore and just put it in the Terraform folder. Just do this. This will just ignore any local state files or Terraform configuration. And then you're going to go to your GitLab project. So mine's Proxmox infrastructure that we made. And then go to your settings, CI/CD. And then expand the variables. And then you'll see your API token ID. So you're going to do that one first. So we'll copy that. Paste that in. And then the secret, we'll paste that in. And then I'm going to change these, so don't worry about using them because you're going to get your own. Then the URL, and this should do a plan. Boom. So there it did a plan file for us. So what I'm going to do is I have this machine just to show you how it works. So I'm just going to change the ID to 403. And as you can see here, I'm using that containers server. So let's run Terraform apply. I'm just going to do an auto approve. So let's add the token ID, token secret, and then the URL. We'll also watch Proxmox over here. So it's going to destroy this 402 that I made. Boom, destroyed it. Now it's going to turn it into 403, which you can see it's doing right now. And then what it's going to do is clone this template. So you give it 4 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM. Still creating, still creating. So I'm using this one as an example. So just while it's creating, I'm going to talk about this one. So this one, it's going to get built, and then we're going to use this IP address. And then we're going to just use this to run some containers. So like we're going to put a runner on here. So just to show, it's right here. We can log in. So I'm going to just SSH into it. And I'm in. All right, well, we did it. So we used Packer. We created a virtual machine template. We could pre-install software on there. So one of the cool things you could do is you could put files on that virtual machine that you want to put on. Something I'm interested in using it for is like Keep Alive D and putting configuration files baked into the image. So that way I can just configure it maybe for a certain service. Also, you can use it to just, install software. Like you can create a Portainer one, install that just launches and always spins up Portainer instantly. So you can have fun and freedom with that. And then what's so cool is we used Terraform, and then we're able to describe our infrastructure as code. I guess the only thing I didn't show is you could just commit that up to your repository. What we're going to do later is add CI/CD to it. So that way, every time we make a change to our repository and commit to it, it's going to go to our runner and it's going to deploy that new changes to our Proxmox server. And that way we can, keep everything Git sourced and go from there. So thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. We got more to come, so stay tuned. Thank you.